Hi guys, Oleg here again. So today I would like to talk to you about network. So we all have some sort of network at home, and I was trying to get the fastest possible solution. So I tried multiple routers from Linksys all the way up to Netgear and everything in between. My latest router and access point was actually Apple Airport Extreme, which was running for me quite nicely for quite some time, maybe like a little bit over the year. But recently I added some more infrastructure on my VMware farm and more IP addresses become active on my network. And I noticed that it's slowed down. A standard Linksys router, which you can buy Costco or Best Buy or Netgear or TP-Link or whatever is your preference, should be okay to cover your needs at home. If you're really up for the speed of the network and you really want to fine-tune it so it is running the most effective way, then there are ways to do it with a little solution from EdgeRouter. As a part of the solution, I'm proudly presenting to you from the company ubnt.com. There is a HMax routers, and this little guy is very powerful. It's enterprise class performance. From the number of connections it can handle and from the interface, from the management side, this little guy with a price tag a little bit over $100 Canadian. I think it's something close to $99 or $94 US. For this little price you get enterprise class router, this enterprise class monitoring tools, which allows you to inspect your network and get it set up in no time. And the performance of this little guy is amazing. I have it set up already, so I'm just gonna show you what I have here. There are 3 ports on the back. One of them is, all of these ports can be changed to whatever functionality you want. By default, one of the ports will be set up to get WAN connectivity from the internet, and the other 2 are going to be set up to have individual networks. This router got CLI access as well, right from the GUI. So if you're into routing and you network guru and you know your CLI very well, then that machine is going to be fun to work for you. It's also got the last test. All of these devices are tested. So it's saying that the device was tested on this part here, and there's also UBNT logo here confirming that this is a genuine product. The good thing about this machine, even though it's getting a little bit warm, then it's working, but all of this case is metal and it's all perforated, so the ventilation of this guy is very, very solid. Even though Ubiquiti advise you to put this router somewhere with a little bit of airflow at least, so it will not get overheated. The GUI interface of this machine is very straightforward, and setup is one of the easiest. Like, it's one of the easiest setup I was comparing against like Linksys and Netgear, which are much more complicated to do, versus this simple machine which is delivering high-class performance at the same time, and all the rules are built for you. While you do a couple clicks in the GUI, all behind the scenes it's creating all the rules and all the netting rules and everything, and you can check them out from CLI if you want. Alright, so let's get into the GUI and I'll show you how it's done. I'm going to my default interface for the Ubiquiti HMax router. Simple login. It's going in, and by default you're gonna get to the dashboard, and we're gonna look at all these nice items over here on the top and what to do first. And also I've explained to you some of the settings which I set up for this router. Okay guys, so here's the interface for Ubiquiti router HMax. So first thing you will do when you go in, and you will see that it's pretty solid interface and almost self-explanatory. On the top there is a console port, and as you can see, I'm using 2 Ethernet ports. One of them is for internet connectivity and the other one is for Ethernet connectivity for local network. There is an option to bridge two interfaces together and use one for the internet and the other two bridge together. That way it's okay to use, but the problem here is that it's a software bridge and you will lose performance if you do that. First thing you will do actually when you connect to this machine, check your EdgeRouter version. If it's below 197, then you will have to go in update, and that's usually done through the website. Yeah, the site you go is ubnt.com, and you have lots of different products here provided by Ubiquiti as a software, and updates are also allocated here. So you have to go and select your product and find your EdgeRouter, ROUTER LITE, that's what we have. And from that you will go downloads, and that will have the latest and greatest firmware update. EdgeMax. If you click on find your EdgeRouter LITE on the menu, you will see that the latest one right now is still 197. Well, that's the minimum you want, and you want that because it will open a whole bunch of services here on top of you for the menu. And the way you do it is go to System, and you go and update your firmware down here. Upgrade your system image. That's what you want to do. On the top you will see that there is a TX rate, which is transmit, and you will see that Ethernet 0 is my Ethernet, which is local, and Ethernet 1 is the one in the middle. That's the one is connected to the internet. And you also have RX rate and TX rate. You also have traffic analysis. And the beauty of that, it will tell you how much each IP address of your network is driving to the total of your throughput. And on top of that, I have host only right now set up for deep packet inspection. But if I do enable operation status, then it will go in and actually set it up that way that anything which is going in, it will go and select actual applications which are used by the client. Let's go Safari or from my iPhone, and you will see traffic on my iPhone. So next, that's 52, that's me. You will see right away how much of each services is using from the traffic perspective. And sometimes this is actually good because you can add filters and categories which will allow you to block specific applications from going to internet from your internal network. So as you can see, enabling that didn't really get a lot of CPU added on the usage, but for most of the cases should be enough to do host only. And if you want to get and actually inspect something on your network, then you can switch on to enabled, and that will give you all the information. Alright, for the routing, all the routing being created for you automatically. So I have all the routes created. I'd add this one, so this is for my Ethernet 1, and that's supposed to be my DHCP for the guest network, but it's still work in progress, so it's not done yet. Add static route is pretty straightforward. All you have to do is just go in and select it on interface, or you want to go through the gateway, and you specify your destination networks and then your distances, usually 1, because 1 hop, and your next hop IP address if applicable. Usually it's going to be your router anyway, and then description what it is and if it is enabled or not. So firewall and netting, so that will give you a setup for all the rules. I'm going to go advanced options here, and all the rules which you have set up from your external ports, how they're translated into internal ports. Services can be DNS. I also only using DHCP right now from this machine, and it's only going see my guest DHCP network. That's what work in progress. I'm setting it up for the Wi-Fi, but my general LAN 1 DHCP address is this. Right, and if you go and do actions and new leases, then you will see that it will show you all the leases, and you can do some static mapping as well, and you can go details and set it up what it is, right? So very straightforward, nothing fancy here. By default, DHCP server will be available for you, and it will go and set up all 250 whatever addresses you have on your network. Your VPN, and as you can see, we support PPT, remote access, and IPsec. so you can get those set up. QoS is very good. You can set up quality of service. That is very important if you have your voice over IP phone connected, for example, to one of the switches. Users, basically your default users, my recommendation is to change your password or change your user altogether from UBNT with the password UBNT to something else. So it's not that obvious. Config tree this is something which is called for config for all your router. All your options are listed here. Is something in between like a GUI interface and CLI interface. So that's what it's going to show you. So if you go, for example, to system or services, you can open it up and see what is your DHCP server doing, and you can open it up and it will tell you I have DHCP, shared network, I have guest DHCP set up, and all of that will be here. I can enable it or disable it and so on and so forth. My subnet settings and so on. All of those are much easier to configure using these remaining tabs over here versus going and set it up here. But this is, like I said, it's something between GUI and CLI. And if you go to CLI, and this is your config, right? So if you are in the CLI guide, that's what you're gonna have. You can set it up. There are lots of options. I see some people actually setting this up on the internet using CLI, and CLI is, once you master it, it's giving you more options than actual from the wizard perspective. So that's where you start your setup. There is a basic setup, load balancing 2, and 1 to LAN and 1 to LAN 2. Basic setup is not probably going to be interesting for you. A load balancing will balance the load between the actual interfaces, but what my recommendation is to go 1 to LAN. That's the option. If you do 1 to LAN 2, that will set up 2 interfaces in bridge mode, and like I said, because it's a software bridge, you will lose performance if you do that. So much better to set it up as 1 to LAN and use just one port for your internet network at home while keeping the other one available. This way you will not lose the performance on the speed of your router. Okay, so there are 2 ways to create Wi-Fi network. One of the ways is to use roaming setup, and this is recommended setup by the Apple for the Apple Wi-Fi equipment. As you can see, I have Airport Express, Airport Extreme, and Time Capsule. So Airport Extreme used to be my primary router before, but now it's switched to the bridge network, and it's just operating the Wi-Fi network, and my primary router is EdgeRouter right now, as you can see. They use all of these devices are using EdgeRouter as a gateway to internet. One of the ways to create and extend your network so you can have solid Wi-Fi signal all around the house is to extend it using extend option. For example, if I go to Airport Express and I do edit, then on the wireless, as you can see, my network is still set to bridge mode, and on the wireless I will use extend wireless network. So extend wireless network is a good option only if you have solid Wi-Fi signal or your home is open concept and you want just to extend the signal with a good quality to different rooms which would have otherwise signal in a weak levels. But if the signal coming to actual Airport Express would be already degraded and slow, then it will extend and amplify only that slow signal, so you will not get required performance if you do so. So that's why recommended setup is to do roaming setup. And roaming setup is to create wireless network on all 3 of those devices, or how many you have, but point all of them to the same network wireless name, and also point to the same security settings and the same Wi-Fi password. So as you can see, wireless password set up on all of those, and it's exactly the same on all of those. And this way the line between the Airport Express and Airport Extreme and Time Capsule will be solid, otherwise it will be dotted line indicated that I'm extending my network wirelessly. This right now it is extended using the actual cable which is coming from my switch infrastructure. So connectivity wise, all these cables has to be connected to the internet port, which is WAN port on this side, and there is a WAN port on the top of Airport Extreme, and there is WAN port on the side here on the time capsule as well. My recommendation is to set up static IP addresses. That way you can easily identify and reserve those for your network infrastructure while leaving the rest for DHCP. For Apple, it's not really a big deal because if you open the airport utility, it will find your devices regardless, and you can access them directly from here. So that's how you set it up to allow stable connection in all the parts of your house, and that way you will not have any speed degradation. This Airport Express will work to the maximum capacity, Airport Extreme will work to the maximum provided speed, and time capsule will work with the maximum provided speed. The other thing which is very important as well is to make sure that you're not colliding on the range of the network with other Wi-Fi networks. That way they will overlap and impact each other on the performance. So you can set up the different frequency of your Wi-Fi antenna. Just make sure that it is using the frequency which is less busy in your area. So as you can see, I have on the high range of the frequencies, my routers are using, there is no competition basically, but on the regular wireless N, I have competition with my neighbors, and we kind of agreed that some of the routers will have that frequency set up automatically to choose the smallest one, less busy one. So I set it up manually to have my range from 9 to 13 over here, and these guys are using the rest because they see that there is a lot of Wi-Fi antennas and frequency used right now by these two wireless IDs and wireless networks, so they switch to these ones. Try to play nice. The routers usually got automatic setup, and they will go and select frequency which is less busy. Sometimes that will be different during the day, and then in the evenings that's dependent on how busy your wireless network is. Alright, so the program which I'm using right now, it's called Wi-Fi Explorer. I know that Android users, I think, got this program even for the phones, and it's I'm not sure if you have to pay for it, but I see people using that. There is no such program for iPhone, but there is one for macOS, and that's what I'm using. So that would be a recommendation if you really see that your setup is correct, but you still cannot reach good speed on your Wi-Fi, then most likely you are actually in competition with the Wi-Fi antennas from your neighbors. Okay guys, so that's it for the quick overview of the network setup which I have, and I really recommend EdgeRouter Max to be used because it's very good value for the money, and it's really speeding up the network. This little router is very powerful, and you will see the benefits of it, especially if you're using something old and your network is still pending for the update. Then my recommendation would be to go with Edge Max. I'm not sponsored to say that, so I'm not being paid by UB&T to promote their products, but in general I see that they also have Wi-Fi access points which are very powerful, and you will see those probably in the office with little U letter on the top, and they're round and usually sitting on the ceilings. But there are solutions right now which you can use at home and bring that enterprise class performance back to your house and benefit from it. Why not? Price-wise, it's pretty competitive with the price of that Linksys or Netgear router. TP-Link is probably going to be a little bit cheaper because usually they're a little bit cheaper on the price, but again, depends on the model. Again, you will separate because your current Linksys router, for example, is doing 3 things at the same time. So it's a router, it's 5 or whatever ports gigabit switch at the same time, and it's also Wi-Fi access point, and all of those has to work together seamlessly and at the same time provide you with performance. Recommendation is to split those up, do access points separately, do routing separately, and if you have switches, then it's going to be even better because you can connect and do as many switches as you want. If you switch as actual enterprise class, you can combine some ports together to create wider pipes, so the possibilities are practically limitless in that case. So here we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, then click that like button, subscribe, show it to your friends, share it with your friends, so we'll get our community growing of the people who are interested in the tech stuff. And we'll see you later on the next video with Tech Review.